Hello. Today I'm going to show the applications for big flood style. So the big flood style stance is as such. Your left arm is up, guarding your face. Your right hand is down in a fist like this. You want to use kind of a lot of in and out movement, some pivoting, to keep the ideal distance with your opponent. This hand kind of just blocks a lot of the incoming attacks, and this one stays down here, but it can raise up to guard attacks as well. You're relatively in a pretty high stance. I mean, your knees are bent, but you're higher than you would be in a normal fighting stance, and you're more bladed than you would be in a normal fighting stance. So if I'm going up against my opponent, and actually I'm going to go on this side so it's easier to see. If I'm going up against an opponent, and they have their guard up, but they're being very defensive. So they're really not giving me anything to come on to. If I were to try to reach in and grab and get some connection, it wouldn't work because they're really tight. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump up with this knee, and I'm going to shoot out this foot. And I want to really make sure I hook this foot, and I want to hook their nearest leg. And of course, this hand is going to swing back to get my body in position for the hook. Like that. And if this leg is forward, then I'd hook it like that. And if the other leg is forward, then I'd hook the other leg. From here, I'm going to come up, I'm going to raise this hand. This is going to block their incoming attacks, and this is also going to push them away to make some space. And then, finally, I'm going to throw this elbow through. So in full motion, I come here, I'd hook, I come up, and I'd elbow. Now, if my opponent is still being a little bit more defensive, but they're doing a little bit more, they might step in every once in a while, they might, be faking, they might be doing a jab. I'm not gonna try to catch the jab, but just them being like more in my zone allows me to do, it's gonna make it hard for me to just come in because I'll get caught. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do one of 4 different moves. So the first one is, starting from this stance, I'm going to extend out like this and clap their hand. And from clapping their hand, I try to pull it back and go into my crouching stance elbow. Sorry. Another thing I might do is I'll clap their hand. So he has the same stance. He's kind of moving stuff. And instead of pulling first and then jumping up, I'm actually going to extend just this left hook, and I'm going to jump back into the crouching stance. So for example, it would be kind of like this. The elbow. The third one is I'm gonna clap, but instead of kind of swinging it around, I'm just gonna raise it up and come down. So instead of going around, it's just gonna be up and then down. So if he's here, I might come up, down, into the elbow. And always make sure you really have this foot turned inwards. Even on my form, it's been a long time since I've done my form. It was a little bit outwards. When you do this in a real fight, you really want it hooked, so you can hook onto the leg. And then finally, you can come like this, and as you come like this one's gonna peel down. This is gonna turn to a fist, and it's gonna throw the arm over you. Then you'll go into a punch, and whether your opponent blocks the punch or not, that will lead you into your next attack. So if your opponent's doing their thing, you throw that over, punch, and then come into the next crouching stance elbow attack. And all those 4 moves, they can chain off each other. So if you come here, he's kind of pulling out, you can come back in. An important thing about doing that is that for this one and for this one, the moment you bring your hands together to grab, you have to bring your leg up too, your right leg up, or else you won't have enough power and you'll get hit to the body because you won't have anything to block it. And for this one and the pullback one, you have to raise up your left leg when you do it. So basically, anytime you come to grab like that, you're never actually grabbing like that. You're either grabbing like this or like this. Your knee is always raising up with this bottom hand when you're clapping, you know, your opponent's hand or whatever limb is closest to you. If your opponent's a little bit more aggressive, so instead of just kind of throwing a little stuff out there, little fakes out there, they're doing a little bit, you know, more. They're really coming at you, and they throw a committed shot. Then you can jump back like this, and then come back and grab in. And then from here, you'll just do one of the clapped hand holds, and that will go right into the crouch stance elbow. And finally, if your opponent does a really committed shot, just over the top, then you can go like this and suck it back down into an empty stance. Then try to use your empty stance to unbalance them. Come back up, grab their head, throw them this way to try to trip them up. Then you want to do two palm thrusts to just create distance with the knees raising to push them out of the way. Do a jumping kick, and then you come back to a block. And then from the block, the counter, then you go back into those moves. So those are like the 4 different differentiations of the series, which you use depending on how much your opponent is pressuring you and attacking you versus defending. So sometimes you're going to have a hard time even getting to your opponent at all, because they're not only are they being defensive maybe, but they're also moving back. You know, so you try to get to them, and you try to like come here, and they'll move back. So the way you can get through them is take your 2 hands like this, clench them into fists, your opponent will be in a stance, and you come over and you crash down. If you hit your opponent, that's great. Really just trying to type the fists. So the motion is here, here, and then you turn around. And as you turn around, that turn can lead you into any one of the 4 different setups depending on your opponent. So if your opponent's moving backwards, I can chase him down like this and turn around, and I can come right into this hook. I can come right into a grab. I can come right into a fall back, or I can come right into, you know, a hook like that, all depending on what your opponent does. And you can hit this just from standing here, or if your opponent's coming in and out a lot, you know, when they lunge in, you can kind of jump back to get yourself some space and then hit the move. So you can hit it straight up, or you can hit it by jumping back. Now, that's kind of the main series, but there's some other 2 other ways. There's one other way to hit the move as well. So if your opponent has their guard up, I can come in and crash my hands over their guard. And this is only for certain situations when you feel that it's easy to hit. The other ones are what you do in most cases. Then from here, you can cut the corner around them and spin your hands like that, and you can have your hands. And then you'll be in line for a punch, a gut punch, which will bring you into this crouching stance elbow. Now, if your opponent is, you know, going backwards a lot, you know, they're keeping the distance, then what you can do is, you know, or, you know, they might be like pushing off you like this or something, and you can come in like that and do these 3 thrusts. And when your opponent comes to counter the thrusts, that's when you'll hit them with that move. Now that move is it's more situational than the original series, but basically this closes the distance into that. So once you've elbowed your opponent, if you hit him with a good elbow and that's all you want to do, you can just peel back off into your stance. But you might want to either continue striking them more if they block or something, or you might want to take it into a takedown. So if I elbow my opponent and I want to go for a takedown, I have two options. The first one is kind of wheel my arms around like that, trying to tie up their hands, or really just get in their face, and then do this. I'm gonna go like this with my fist. That's just gonna knock their hands down. It's not actually going to hit their face or anything, but just basically get the hands out of the way. If I'm here, I'm gonna take my hands, I'm gonna scoop either their butt or one of their legs into like this position. And then you just jump like this into a double leg takedown, or a high crotch takedown. I can also go upper body. So I'm here, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have one of these, this hand is gonna peel down on one of their hands, and I'm gonna kind of stick them in their face like that. So I'm here and just do just that. It's not that much, but that's how I'm gonna get into an upper body takedown. It just opens up their hands a little bit so you can get in, get your underhooks, get a takedown. I also might want to continue striking. From here, what I can do is two options. The first option is, so if I hit them here, and I'm all kind of tied up, and they do a big dodge backwards, or they lean backwards, or they put a hand up or something like that. So I'm here, I do this, and they do a big dodge backwards, or they lean backwards like that. And when so I come here, but they lean backwards, but they still can't really get away because I have a hook, and and what I can do is I can step forward with this right leg and use these hands to pull down their hands. Then from here, I'm gonna make space by raising this knee up to kind of push them off and punching their face like that. Like that. So here, here, here. And then from here, there's two options. So the first option is do one kick, two kicks, and then a jumping kick. And then the second option is swing your hand over for a hammer like that, and then bring your feet together for a punch to the stomach. So you're here, 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 here. So that's basically the crouch stance elbow part. So now there's also another section which is the punch to the stomach part. So if your opponent, you're going up against your opponent, I'll go on this side again, and they're being very defensive. So they're not really doing anything. Then what I can do is I can just jump forward, take my forearms, have them crash against their hand. While I do this, make sure to raise up your legs so that will block the body, and then I can come down for a punch. Oh, sorry. Okay, my bad. If your opponent is, doing a little bit more, they're not just being totally defensive. They're still defensive, but they're, giving you some stuff. Then what you can do is you can come in with a hammer fist like that, a jumping hammer fist, and then that will take you down into it. If your opponent's here, you can go something like that. If your opponent throws out a committed attack, then you can come here into this dodge, and then that takes you into the hammer fist series. And then finally, if your opponent throws out a really committed attack, then you can suck it up like that, come out, step forward, do an uppercut, another uppercut, and then come back into this dodge, hammer fist, and then punch the stomach. Now, your opponent might be backing up, and it's hard for you to get to them. You're trying to jump forward and they back up and stuff. So in that case, a good way to close the distance is the double punch. So if your opponent has the guard up, you can double punch the guard, and then that can set up all 4 of those attacks based on your opponent's reaction. You know, so if your guard's up, here, you come right in for the punch the stomach and stuff. And of course, you can set it up just by doing it, or if your opponent is coming in and out and you can't get the distance right, you can kind of almost like suck them back, you know, or just dodge back yourself and just block whatever they're throwing out of the way into this move, and then do the double punch and come into that. Now, another option, and this is more situational, it's not as like high percentage as the other ones, is when I step forward, you do a snap kick, and then you do a crescent kick. And the crescent kick would, if their hands were there, move the hands out of the way, and then off the crescent kick, jump up into the gut punch. And if you're having a hard time setting that up because your opponent's moving back and stuff, then you can come from here, spin around, and do one of these elbows. And if they keep backing up, then that's how you set up that attack. And then from here, if you want to grapple, it's the same thing as previously. So you can spin them around, knock the hands out, hit a shit like that. And then from here, you almost want to jump into your takedown position, or you can just jab them like that, and then you know, go like that, and then that will help you get into the grappling position. So the grappling is the same for the gut punch and the cross-hands elbow. If you're coming here and your opponent blocks, they dodge last minute or something, then what you can do is from this position, step forward with this leg, and swing an elbow like that, and step forward with that leg and swing an elbow like that. And so here they block, one elbow, and then you step forward. And then finally, the final part is, sometimes your opponent might do something that doesn't really make any sense at all. You know, it might be, you know, they might, basically this is your finishing move, so your opponent has no answers for what you're doing, and they're flustered, they start making mistakes. And at any point, you can either jump forward, snap kick them, and go into a horse stance chamber punch, or just go into a horse stance chamber punch. So what that can look like is you come here and you drop down into a punch, or you come here and you swing it over to the head like that. And you want to, put your foot hand here so you can really push off that leg, get the power. And you can, of course, swing from here, and you can chain a few, horse stance punches together. And that can be done just by itself or off of a jumping snap kick. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but for the striking after the crouch stance elbow, the two options, they can you can do one of them if one of them, they can kind of like chain together a little bit too. So that's basically Big Flood style. Thanks for watching.